Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brother Sam Henderson, and I am here, and I'm absolutely elated today because I'm here with what I'll call an absolute legend of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I'm talking about none other than Brother William L. Turner. Brother Turner, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're more than welcome.
So let's get right into this, Brother Turner, because we've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and I thought it was important that we do this. So I wanted to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about your early life, your childhood, where you grew up, your hometown, about a little bit about your parents and your siblings, if you have any.
I was born in Macomb in August 1923 to the parentage of William and Ella Turner. Attended elementary school in the old East Macomb School. Now it's known as Birdell. From there I went to Old Hudson High on Monroe Street. And that's where I graduated from high school. And I had to go to work. Well, I worked for a couple of years, then I was drafted into the Army. And after I was released from the Army, I was fortunate enough to get enrolled in South Carolina State through the insistence of a former high school instructor.
Let me ask you one question. When you were drafted into the Army?
Yes.
So was that during wartime? Was there a war going on? So you saw some
World War II.
World War II.
Yeah.
Okay. And what rank were you when you were in the military?
Well, during that time I got to a technician 5th grade, which is the same as a corporal.
I got you.
It was hard to make rank during that time because I did not do some of the things that some of the other people did in order to get promoted. And I was one of those that was passed over on many occasions.
I got you.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. So I'm assuming that you went to college after you were in the military.
Yes, yes.
And what made you go to college?
I always wanted to go, and my parents were hard on education. Neither of my parents finished high school. They insisted that my sister and I went to college. That was their desire.
So it was just you and your sister?
Yes. And both of us were in college at the same time. She was at Albany State, I was at South Carolina State. And she finished in 1949. And I came out in 1950.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. So after you were in college, I'm assuming that once you finished college, you looked for a career or started to work somewhere.
Yes, well, after finishing college, I had to go back into the Army. I had accepted a reserve commission.
Okay.
And I was called back to active duty, and I went to Germany. And upon release from active duty, I got a job teaching industrial arts in Henry County in my first year. And from there, I went to DeKalb County, stayed 4 years, still in industrial arts. After 4 years in DeKalb, I went to Clayton County for 1 year. And then I came to Houston County and stayed for 26 years.
26 years?
Before retiring as vice principal.
Okay, so you retired as a vice principal?
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now let me go back just a little bit to college, to South Carolina State. Now I understand, is that where you came into the fold of Omega at South Carolina State?
Yes.
And what led you or guided you to Omega? How did you come to join Omega Psi Phi fraternity?
During the very first class that I had enrolled in, this instructor was an Omega man. He inspired not only me, but the entire class.
And around what year was that?
This was in 1947, September 1947, and a class of botany. The instructor had graduated the year before. That was his first teaching job. But the way he carried himself, you had to like him. You could talk with him. He would help you with any problem you thought you had. Mm-hmm. And from there, I began to notice other men that wore the Omega colors. And from there, that made me say I wanted to be one of them.
So when you were actually on the pledge line, how many men were online with you?
There were 22 of us on the pledge line at one time.
And did all of them make it across the burning sands?
All of us did, yes, yes.
And are you still in communication with any of those brothers today?
Yes. I have one brother who was online with me. I ran into him approximately 15 to 20 years after graduation, and he moved his family here, and most of his children grew up here because of our close relationship.
Oh, okay. So let me ask you this. Now, I understand that you, along with another brother, are the founders of the Omega Gamma Gamma chapter of Omega Psi Phi here locally in Warner Robins. What led to you thinking that there should be a charter in Warner Robins, Georgia?
That was a joint effort. We were at a meeting, and we noticed that there were just as many men from the Warner Robins area attending this particular meeting as they had in this locale where we were. And this other brother, I called his name Brother Hill, and I were looking around, we said, it's just as many here as they have. Why can't we have a chapter in Warner Robins? And that's how the idea started.
And that was in 1988?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So you're coming up on a 30-year anniversary this year, it seems.
Very soon, yes.
So, I've had a number of brothers from around the state to send in questions that they wanted me to ask you, because many of the brothers from my generation and before and after are very, very interested in what took place in Omega. And you went over in 1950?
Yes, December 16th, 1950.
And what chapter was that?
Xi chapter in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Okay, so the first question that I have for you related to Omega that the brother sent in, he says, what is the biggest difference between today's Omega men and those men who entered the fold with you? What's the biggest difference?
To me, it seems as though most of the younger brothers look at Omega as a social event where they have a good time enjoying themselves. When I came along, it was mostly a serving outfit. We had projects that we had to do on campus. We had to make certain contact in the community, and we were widely known as the men of Omega.
And let me ask you this, do you believe that true brotherhood is still relevant amongst today's Omega men, and if not, what needs to be done to change that?
I believe true brotherhood is relevant. I can't be a friend of you and hold a grudge against you for anything. No two people are going to think alike, but we can come to some conclusion where we can agree to a certain extent. And we can move anything that we want to move by working together.
That's great, brother. Let me ask you this. Another brother sent in a question. He wanted to know, what is your proudest moment of being an Omega man, and what is your most disappointing moment of being an Omega man?
My proudest moment, one of my proudest moments, is when I received my 50-year pen. My second one was when I received my 60-year pen. My most disappointing memory, I did not become a life member as I wanted to some years ahead.
I see. And let me ask you this. If you could change anything about your walk, for lack of a better term, your walk in Omega, if you could change anything and go back, what would you change about your walk through Omega?
But I wouldn't change anything, because during that time I was taught certain things, principles in Omega, and I have not gotten away from them. I still think they are all the things that I was taught were relevant. I know many changes have been made since then, but what I was taught is still relevant to me as to the operation of Omega Psi Phi.
That's great. And now let me ask you this: were the brothers during your day in the 50s and in the 60s, were the brothers during that time active in social issues? Were they active, or do you think that, you know, were they active in social issues, I guess is what I'm asking?
Yes. In many social events, whether it was on campus, many of them were in the city of Orangeburg, we were involved throughout the community.
And do you think that the current brothers that you've seen over the last 25 years, do you think that these brothers have also accepted that social change charge, or have they just kind of shied away from it?
Some have and some have not. We have some that have accepted it, and there are some who came in, well, they became Omega men, but they don't do anything.
So I guess you're saying we all need to do more.
Yes.
I understand. Now, here's a question that another brother sent in. He wanted to know, how impactful has Omega been to your overall success, both professionally and personally?
Based on some of the principles I was taught in the Pledge Club, that you do certain things, you don't do other things. You uphold many and you disregard some of the others. Now I have to make a choice as to which one that I'm going to uphold, which ones that I'm going to disregard, and stand on the principles that I was taught in the Pledge Club.
That's great. Now, what advice would you have for brothers that join Omega in the 21st century and those men who are interested in joining Omega right now? What advice would you have for them?
I would ask them to look deeper at the principles of Omega Psi Phi. If you think that you cannot comply with some of those principles, then go somewhere else. Because Omega Psi Phi principle, the man that you carry yourself in a certain manner, that people can see Omega in you as you walk down the street.
Mm-hmm. So now, one other thing, I understand that the local chapter here, Omega Gamma Gamma, has named its annual golf tournament as well as their foundation in your honor. How does that make you feel?
I can't express that. It makes me feel beyond anything that you can imagine. It's outstanding when you are recognized as a member of a group and others look to you in such a manner. It's just heartwarming.
Now, I understand that you'll be celebrating your birthday later this month. Can we ask how many years you'll be celebrating?
Well, let's say it like this. In 36 days, I hope to say 95.
36 days. So it's next month. It's not this month.
Yeah, no, next month.
You'll be, so I would say that 95 years old?
95, yeah.
So that means that when you came into the fraternity was only about 39 years old. Yeah, it was about 39 years old.
Yeah, around that age.
So for such a young organization What made you gravitate? I mean, you could have joined any organization that was already set up and 50, 60 years old, but you joined one that was still in its youthfulness. It was 39 years old. What did you see there that said, hey, I want to be a part of this?
There were two people that I respected, that I admired, that I wanted to follow in their footsteps. One was the lab instructor I had, and the second one was my shop teacher. Those two men, both Omega men, to the core. They walked it, they talked it, and they carried themselves in such a manner that you would say, there goes a man of Omega.
So let me ask you this, how should an Omega man carry himself? How should he carry himself?
I say in such a manner, same things that he should do, that would inspire others to look at what I have done, not be so braggadocious all the time, I am this, I am that. Let his action speak for himself.
Now, and these things are coming to me as I sit here with you. The brothers today refer to themselves as dogs. Is that something that you all did back in the 50s and 60s?
No. We were never known as a dog. Say a dog collar, none of that ever was mentioned during the time I was in the Pledge Club.
And do you think that those kind of references about dogs and this and that, has that kind of put a shadow over Omega?
To me, yes, because many people think that when they say a dog that you'll lower your standards, when Omega Psi Phi has some very, very, very high standards that we should adhere to.
Brother Turner, I want to thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to sit down and talk with you. And so ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from an Omega legend, Brother William L. Turner, and we're going to be with him next month to celebrate his 95 years on the planet. So join us then, and thank you very much, and this has been wonderful. Thank you, Brother Turner.
You are more than welcome, more than welcome.